with more CineStill 800T, this time shooting one of the most recognizable and overshot places here in Tokyo. Everyone knows it. We've all seen it. Whether you're interested in Japan specifically or travel photography in general, it's definitely popped up on your social media feed. This is the Uonami Fish Bar next to Shiinamachi Station in Toshima, Tokyo. It has, like almost everything else in this day and age, been done to death. Any mystery or allure long since evaporated, artistic or journalistic integrity stripped away to reveal forgettable headlines like 10 best photo spots in Tokyo or must-see Showa vibes while you're in Japan, and more of the same, really. Whether on smartphone, analog film, or any and every digital camera released in the past decade or so, chances are Shiinamachi has been shot on it. It's been done. But not by me. In fact, I've been in Tokyo for over a decade now, and until this past autumn, I had never been there. This is made more ironic by the fact that when I moved here, I lived just 20 minutes away. So I grabbed my Canon AE-1 and 2 rolls of CineStill 800T and hopped on the train. I don't live nearly as close now, so I had to transfer twice, with the second transfer happening at the beloved and revered Ikebukuro station, my old hood. If you've been there, you'll know that it's kind of a nightmare due to the confusing layout and signage of the station, which is then compounded by the fact that it is always packed with people. All hustle, all bustle, both inside and outside. Basically, a dream come true for those of us suffering from crippling social anxiety. Shiinamachi, on the other hand, is quite a bit calmer. Less urban, more residential, and home to a number of mom-and-pop shops, at least one beautiful shrine, a constant and seemingly permanent loop of cyclists, as well as the aforementioned overshot view. We arrived early enough to catch some sunshine. Yes, I was once again joined by everyone's favorite Rhinelander, Hi. I took my first test shots of the staff parking at a bank near the station, which apparently amused and confused the few staff members who just so happened to come out and see what I was doing. Wasting some expensive 35mm film, obviously. Now, just next to that is the lovely Nagasaki Shrine. In my admittedly limited experience, 800T is pretty hit or miss during the daytime. But I actually like the way that the couple of shots from the shrine here turned out. 800T's pronounced halation adds kind of a dreamlike quality.
Like you're supposed to bow when you go through the torii, but I'm blasphemous like that.
Light leaks tend to detract from rather than benefit a lot of photos, but I think it looks kinda cool here. Before long, the sun had gotten pretty low, and I knew that we had to get our butts up just above the station to reserve a spot for the famed view. Speaking of which, you can actually see where it is that you need to go before you even leave the station platform. And I might add that while you're there, you may also catch sight of a train that possibly departed from platform 9 3/4. Anyways, we made our way up above the nearby pedestrian pathway to the busy road above. There I pretended to search for composition and framing as though it hadn't already been figured out countless times before.
Because I kind of like the road leading in, you know what I mean? Kind of like leading your eye into the center of the image. Well, last time I kind of had to take what I could get.
That's right. Last time. So, full transparency, what we've been looking at is actually my second visit to this spot. I first tried just over a month earlier. The sky didn't look promising and the forecast wasn't great, but I decided to chance it anyways. So there I found myself, under an unfortunately overcast sky with no signs of changing, along with several others just like me. However, while Uonami's and Actus's signs lit up, the construction company Sakai's sign remained dark. That third sign did eventually turn on, but by then it was just too dark to get a good photo. Anyways, the resulting shots were not to my liking, so I decided that it was just a practice run. As such, a month later, there Hai and I stood, under much clearer and more promising skies, waiting for the magic to happen. Once I found where I wanted to be, I set up the tripod and pimped out my 28mm lens with far too many step-up rings and a filter that I'll get into just a bit later.
Another issue with long exposures in this area is because of all the traffic that sometimes comes by, you know, the whole bridge sort of sways a little bit, so you probably don't want to do longer than 30 seconds.
Before long, as with the previous visit, I found myself one of many. Honestly, there are times when knowing that a spot has been photographed a dozen times, if not 100 times, kind of gives me a little bit of an existential crisis. Now, I'm no stranger to overdone hotspots. I'm not better than that sort of thing. Lord knows I've been to and photographed some very, very well-traveled and overshot places. Does the excess of repetitive content cheapen these places, make the photos worthless, reduce them to copies of copies? I really think that just depends on you. There's no objective answer, or rather, if the answer is yes, then I think we can apply that to virtually every photo on Earth now. And therefore, photography, art, and maybe even life itself are all utterly meaningless. But anyways, sometimes it's just fun to put your own spin on things or try your hand at your own take. Or sometimes it's relaxing just to know that the composition is already figured out and you just need to find the spot and get the timing right. Speaking of timing, the sky grew dark, and one by one, bit by bit, the building was illuminated. We waited with bated breath, while Hai did high things. And then, finally...
Hora, there we go.
Much better results this time around. A bit dark maybe, otherwise I think these turned out reasonably well.
Take it easy.
So how was it? Do you think it was better?
For sure. I think I might actually want to try to get one here. Maybe right about here.
I thought that you would like stay a little bit longer. So it's kind of like, oh shit, wait. But...
Whereas you see now, we have a nice like kind of navy to sort of teal and then orange gradient, which is pretty sick.
I wanted some lower angle photos from the ground, but the sky rapidly darkened around this time, resulting in unavoidable underexposure. Even if I had a light meter and went for like a 3-second shutter speed or something to get detail in the shadows, I think the signs would have just been overexposed white blobs. I guess now is a good time to talk about the filter that I was using. So I have mixed feelings about this Starcross filter here. Like, it could be cool, but I think it kind of clashes with 800T's strong halation rather than the two working together. And the effect is quite garish in some of these shots.
that smell like dog food or something?
I tried to recover shadow detail in Negative Lab Pro, but the intense colored grain of the underexposed bits just became way too pronounced. If I had taken this shot 15 to 20 minutes earlier, I think it would have turned out more how I wanted. But compositionally, it's perfect. The roll was then finished, and it was time to load the second one.
Do your thing.
There we go.
It can sometimes be a bit of a task here in Tokyo to find a spot to just stand or sit where you're not in the way.
That smells so good. I haven't had pizza Hut in like 2 years.
Trash. Moving on.
Hello, what are you doing? What are you hiding?
Various mischievous paraphernalia.
Suspicious things going on here in the corner of Shiinamachi station.
As often happens, I wasted the first few shots of the roll and decided to blame the lens. As a result, I switched out the 28mm prime for my Tamron 35-70 despite its poor condition.
I think it's like missing some screws here. So, you know, if there's anyone watching this that knows exactly what types of screws I need, you can point me in the right direction. That would be great. Otherwise, I guess I'll just try to bring it to like Kitamura and Shinjuku. But they don't charge an arm and a leg. It could be that actually buying a new one from like Mercari is cheaper than getting this repaired.
I still haven't looked into it. We headed through the nearby shopping arcade. It was festively and confusingly decorated for November. Possibly my favorite photo of the evening. The exposure is spot on, the framing is exactly as I planned, and there are just so many interesting details to explore in this small shop. So, as with the vending machine shot, I just wish it were brighter so you could make out the silhouettes of the people a bit better. And I found one other spot where I thought that the tripod was once again needed. I like the warm light coming through the thin curtains and textured window. I don't know if this is me reaching in terms of analysis, but it kind of lends a sense of mystery or something with the desire to know exactly what is going on inside this rundown little building. Narrow streets. This is why you need wide-angle lenses in Tokyo. I think I'd like this more if there was a staff member visible inside, or maybe a customer sitting on the chair to the side or something. But for like a still life or portrait of vacancy or something, I think it works. Pretty solid snap. It's too grainy and dark to make out, but this woman was just scowling at me as she rode past. I get it. Tourists are annoying. The excess of needless photos and videos is annoying. It is what it is. So I think this is probably one of those moments where the light leak is more distracting than beneficial. When it's this prevalent, it basically becomes the subject. So we had long since lost the light, and eventually I was just too tired and hungry to continue, as often happens. So Hai and I made our way back to the station, where I found one last thing to photograph.
I thought that was just kind of interesting for some reason.
I'd like to distance myself from my past self here because, yeah, I don't get it.
Oh, that's our role.
Our role. As if Hai shot any of this. Actually, I had like a dozen shots left, so I ended up returning to Asakusa and ironically getting a couple bangers and some other reasonably neat snaps there. So, I guess it's time to wrap this thing up. Aside from the standard money shot that everyone gets, I got a few that I quite like. Did I break new ground, or find myself taking the next great photo? No. Did I unnecessarily waste a lot of expensive film on duplicate shots? Yes. And did I have a nice time exploring the neighborhood with a friend and seeing what CineStill would yield this time around? Also yes. Is that enough? I hope so. Anyways, that about does it, so as always, thank you for watching. Any mystery or allure long since allure, hand is getting kind of sweaty.